Birmingham City Council sign off 21% tax hike and devastating cuts. I'm going to read into this more from the Independent, you guys. And let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from the Independent with the headline that Birmingham City Council have signed off a 21% tax hike and devastating cuts. Some residents will see their council tax rise by £840 over 2 years. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. £840 in council tax rise in over 2 years. How on earth did this happen? Well, I've said this already, but it's important to remind ourselves of these. The council taxes, the council tax cuts, the budgets that they've had, and while the government says about that they've made record investment here and there, it's really nowhere near the amount of money that these councils have needed. And one of the other fundings that people honestly do forget about is the EU funding that we used to have, that we used to get when we were part of the European Union, that we don't get anymore. And while some people may argue that we had gotten some funding from the government to that, some places, some councils don't get any additional funding at all. So the funding that they used to have from the EU is like gone. So they have, and some of that was really a lot of money. That's just one of many issues, and obviously one of the biggest issues, I have to say, and Birmingham City really do need a kick up the backside, is you really got to manage your budgets. Yes, of course, austerity plays a role in this, and I had someone in the comments trying to blame everything that's happening in this country on Labour when they haven't been in power for 14 years, and I just rolled my eyes away. Like I'm not a Labour supporter, but you can't blame for Labour for the devastating that's been happening for the last 14 years. The state that the UK is in, you really can't. You just can't. It's just feeble, really, at this point. Now, Birmingham City Council really, for them to have these many tax hikes and these many cuts, which means that people in Birmingham are going to suffer. They're going to suffer greatly, and this is really about them managing to look after their budgets. They've got to learn to look after their budgets. Just because there's going to be likely change at the next general election of a Labour government does not mean that this is all going to change. No, they're still going to be having to pay off the debts that they have to pay, and this is going to be an issue with other councils as well. And Labour are really going to have to come hard on some of these councils when it comes to it. Yes, they will need to provide fundings for them, and where they get those fundings, I don't know, because some of them desperately need funding in order to enable public services to run, and that is something that money needs to go into. I don't think anyone can argue that we need more money in our public services. I think we're all in agreement of that. But Labour are not going to come and save Birmingham City Council here, as is any other council that are in bankruptcy. They will do what they can to help, but they're not going to pay off these debts, and it's going to be a very rough ride for the people of Birmingham. So Birmingham City Council has signed off a deal to impose a tax hike of 21%, and devastating cuts to public service over the next 2 years. Europe's largest local authority was forced to declare effectively bankruptcy last September, and is seeking to make an unprecedented £300 million in savings, with the council warning a fundamental change in how it delivers services. While councils are typically prevented from raising tax by more than 5% without holding a referendum, Birmingham has received special dispensation from the Community Secretary Michael Gove to hike rates by 10% in each of the next 2 years in light of the council's exceptional financial difficulties. The Fully Council voted on the increase on Tuesday, which totals around 21% in over 2 years, equivalent to the rise of around £280 million on a typical Band A property and £840 on a Band H home, in addition to the rate of proposed spending cuts. During the meeting at Birmingham City Council on Tuesday, Conservative Group leader Robert Allen said, Lord Mayor, this is an important budget. It's a budget that shows how badly Birmingham Labour have made a mess of this council's finances and how they haven't got a real plan to fix that mess. Regardless of whatever political side is, it's absolutely devastating to say the least. Instead, all Birmingham Labour will have to offer is a double whammy of higher taxes and fewer services. Accusing Birmingham's council leader and its cabinet of living fantasy land, Mr. Alden says, since Birmingham's Labour took control of the council 12 years ago, every time people look at their council tax bill, it's gone up, car park charges have gone up, and yet despite all these tax fee rises, Labour still effectively bankrupt the council. Now, there's no question that the Labour Council here have effectively not handled their budgets and finances too. But it is also important to highlight, and I've said this before and I'm going to keep hammering this home, you have to remember the austerity measures that have taken place on all councils over the last 14 years by the Conservatives that have made it much difficult for councils to look after their budgets. So to say that this is all on Labour, I don't buy that for a second. I do think that Conservatives do have to take some of the shoulder of the blame on this, and the reason that they do is because they've not effectively provided enough finance to both Birmingham and other councils up and down the country, and that's really important to state. And cuts including dimming light services, making bin collections fortnightly instead of weekly, and raising burial costs up to 600 council jobs are also expected to be axed. The cuts proposed in social care, the arts, highway maintenance and public spaces. Birmingham's spending power has plummeted since austerity was imposed in 2010. And Birmingham is merely one of 8 local authorities forced in the past 6 years to issue a Section 114 notice, which is in effect a declaration of bankruptcy. Prior to 2018, the last time a council has been forced to do so was in 2000. The last time was all the way back in 2000, was the last time we ever had one. Birmingham was left unable to balance its books after a botched rollout of an updated IT system, with the council also identifying a further £760 million outstanding in equal pay following a landmark Supreme Court ruling in 2012, which saw the council forced to pay £1.1 billion to workers who alleged women were being paid less. But the council's Labour leader John Cotton has also blamed a national crisis in local government finances, caused by the combination of austerity and underfunding. Councils across the country are also hard pressed by inflation and rising demands for services. We're facing some of the biggest budget challenges in living memory, he warned. Like I said, yes, the Labour Council here deserves a slap on the wrist, and rightfully so. And they really should have balanced the books a lot better. However, again, this is once again austerity, not enough funding. What are these councils supposed to do? They've been put in these situations. Mr. Gove has given 4 councils permission to raise taxes by 10% in the next financial year, and Nottingham City Council on Monday approved hundreds of job losses and cuts to social and youth services in a bid to reduce its £53 million deficit. Social and youth services, guys. You know, fundamental communities that keep people insane, that are good for, that keep you for physical and mental health well-beings. Those community outreaches, gone. They're going to go because they have no money. In comments last month as Birmingham budget proposals were published, Mr. Cotton said, I want to apologise unreservedly for both the significant spending reduction and this year's substantial council tax increase. We have no alternative than to face these challenges head on, and we will do whatever is necessary to put the council back on sound financial footing. The BBC reported that Labour councillor Liz Clemens was brought to tears at Birmingham's council meeting last week as a result of the plans to almost entirely cut the city's art funding. Arts aren't a luxury, they're actually what makes life work living in the city, and they are a reason to keep going, says Mrs. Clemens. So I personally am really devastated about that. Again, what are they supposed to do, guys? What are they supposed to do? Another terrible, terrible situation. We've covered quite a few stories recently about councils and the suffering that they're going through, and Birmingham City are really feeling the pinch, guys. They're really going to feel the pinch. And like I said, the people of Birmingham should not have to suffer this in any way, shape or form. They really, really should not have. And you have to ask those questions. You know, why didn't they manage their budgets properly? Is it just Labour? Is it just austerity? I think it's a combination of all of them is at fault here, because it should never have come this far. For Birmingham, you know, it really should not have done, and now the people of Birmingham are going to suffer this as a result, and it should never ever have happened to them, guys. It really should not. Council tax rises by £840 in over 2 years. So what do you guys think? Who is really at fault for Birmingham City Council's tax hikes and devastating cuts? Is it just the Conservatives? Is it poor running by Labour? Is it all of them, those things? Let me know what your thoughts are about these figures and statistics that Birmingham are having to face in the comment section down below. Perhaps if you're from Birmingham yourself, maybe you can tell me how you feel, and are you planning to still stay in Birmingham due to these cuts and tax rises that are coming? Let me know. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button, be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further and financially support me in the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content there as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.